9, I think you're also doing your coursework, your GP, individual report and all of that. So these are some reminders that they're going to give us. So we have Yukta. Why don't you face the camera? Come this side. Face the camera. We have Yukta, we have Riya, we have Radhika, we have Promit and Amrita. Okay, please give them a big hand.
Okay. Hi guys, before we begin, can you raise your hands if you know what academic integrity means? Okay, not a lot of you. Now can you raise your hands if you follow academic integrity? Okay.
Okay, so moving on, does anyone want to answer what academic integrity means to you and why do you think it's important? Okay.
Anyone in the audience would like to answer that question? What does academic integrity mean to you?
I think academic integrity just means staying true to the kind of work that you've done and making sure all the work you do is your work. So if you use someone else's work, then you have to cite them, give them credits.
Anyone from grade 9? Yes.
I think academic integrity, when I think of integrity, I think of honesty. I think of, I quote Miranti here because academic integrity and everything. Integrity is about doing what's right even when nobody's watching. So that's what I think of when I say integrity. And pairing that with academics means doing the right thing in terms of academics. So if I want to use something, but that something is not mine, I need to be honest with like the person who might be reading this and say, hey, this is not mine, but this is where I borrowed it from.
Thank you, Atul. Anyone else? Yeah, carry on.
So academic integrity is the expectation that teachers, students, researchers, and members of the academic community act with honesty, trust, fairness, and respect, according to TEQSA. Do you see how I'm citing the source reference here? That is being academically honest, giving others credit for their work.
Okay, so I have another question for you guys. So what are some kinds of academic misconduct and how can you breach academic integrity?
We know so many. Come on. Yes, Arihant, tell us.
What was the question? What is some examples of academic misconduct?
Oh, for example, if I get a friend of mine to help me with my work, that's essentially cheating. So don't do that.
Anyone else? Vichu? Any example?
Question again. Like again, if you don't cite your sources, it's still if you don't cite your sources when you do any type of essay itself, again, it's considered to be misconduct because you're directly lifting off the article and not like paraphrasing or rephrasing in your own words.
Grade 9, any examples of academic misconduct? Vedant?
During a test when you're asking for assistance from other people.
You're sitting in a test and then you're asking help from someone else. Rehan?
When you use AI and don't cite, when you use like ChatGPT and don't cite it, then it's breaching your academic integrity.
Use of AI. Anybody else with any other examples of academic misconduct?
Okay, so what are some ways that academic integrity can be promoted in our school?
How do you think it's happening right now? We welcome new ideas, but how is it happening right now? How are we promoting academic integrity, academic honesty? Nikhil?
Okay, so our teachers constantly remind us not to plagiarize and also just to say academically honest, like in basically every single essay that we write. So yeah, it's fairly relevant to IB1 students. I'm not sure about younger grades.
What about in your classes? How are you given reminders about academic honesty? Lekha?
Just being told that we have to be completely genuine with our work, and the best quality work is going to be produced if we put in our own original ideas.
Anyone else? Arik?
No, I don't have any. I think like right now, our teachers constantly reminding us that, like it'll help us in the long run if we are doing or if we are producing our original work, and like not using AI sources, not getting help from anybody, and I think that all makes us all aware that we should produce our own work. So yeah.
Thanks, Arik.
Yeah, so I have another question. So what consequences should students face that breach academic integrity?
Do you face any consequences? Are there consequences? Do you think there should be consequences? No? Yes? Yes, you nodded your head.
I didn't say anything, Auntie. I mean, there should be consequences because you're claiming someone else's work as your own, so which is not very honest.
So what kind of consequences? As students, what kind of consequences do you think there should be? I know as a school, we do a lot of counseling. You know, I'm not going to ask anyone if they've been counseled or not, but we do a lot of counseling, one-on-one counseling. But you tell us, what do you think some consequences should be, in your opinion, as students?
I think consequence should be listening to a boring assembly like this, in case you have cheated. Because all of us have cheated, but it's the ones who didn't get away with it that are getting the rest of us in trouble. Just
Are
don't
you hearing
cheat.
him?
Please.
Please continue.
Okay, so now we need two people to share their experiences where they were academically honest.
Or dishonest?
Academically honest. Anyone? Would you like to share like some work you've done and how you've gone about citing your work? Naisha? Why don't you go up there?
So normally I find it really hard to cheat. Like I feel really guilty once I like even think about doing that. So whenever I write any, yeah. So whenever I write any essay or anything like that, then I make sure that I cite all my sources. So I cite alongside my research. So like while I'm researching, I cite all my sources. And so yeah, like I find it really hard to be academically dishonest. So like most of my work is always like it has, I would say that personally, I think that it's academically like honest. Yeah.
Okay, so now we have some advice for you ninth graders of how to follow academic integrity. Yes, and IB1 as well. So firstly, you should just be honest with any work you're doing and any of that. And please don't use any unauthorized help like maybe AI or assistance or even in an exam. Just don't cheat.
Yeah, you should learn to manage your time wisely and plan ahead. Don't procrastinate because you will end up using unauthorized sources at the end. And yeah, as she said, don't use AI. Turnitin also has features now which can help detect if you have used AI. So your teachers can catch that easily.
So this leads us to the next part of our conversation today.
But how can we say not to use AI? Isn't AI useful? I think it is in many ways.
So you should use AI. There's nothing wrong with using AI as long as you're properly citing it.
Okay, so can you get inspired? Like if sometimes you're stuck with something, can you just use AI to trigger some idea? You think AI can be used like that?
Yeah, you can use it for getting inspiration, but you have to also cite the source. Like IB has given out a format to cite your AI if you're using ChatGPT. So I think that is important.
Right. So we won't say not to use AI, right? Yeah.
So citing AI is sort of like just citing your best friend, because the way the IB put it at least is citing an AI in the paper is equivalent to saying, oh, my best friend said this on Friday, because what an AI does is unreliable. But this is slowly changing. There are AIs which do cite their sources. So if you are using AI, please remember that it's not as good as actually finding the information yourself yet. Okay, so now we're going to move on to a different segment about research skills.
So when you hear the phrase research skills, what is the first thing that comes to your mind?
Anyone? Ritul, what comes to your mind? Okay, what else? When you talk about research skills, what comes to mind, Radesh? Critical analysis. Okay, good. Nice one. Grade 9. Bayurvi? What comes to mind? What kind of skills do you think you can build with when you're doing research work? I think all of you are working on your GP research work, right? How to find reliable, authentic resources. Okay. That's a skill. Serena, any particular skill comes to mind? Okay, being efficient, especially with time. Okay.
Okay. So how many of y'all use Wikipedia as a source of information for your research? Raise your hands, there'll be.
Really?
We all use
Good.
So here's the thing about Wikipedia. Your teachers might disagree, but I will die on this hill. Wikipedia is a great source. You know why? Wait, I'm going to explain why. Because it is well cited, it has a footnote for every fact, and it is peer reviewed. But the problem is Wikipedia doesn't go deep. So if you want to do actual research on a topic, you have to go a lot further than Wikipedia. Purmit, how can we do that?
So instead of using Wikipedia, you can use research papers, journal articles, which have information on a much more deeper level, because Wikipedia only offers you surface level information. Also, when you are putting something in your search engine, put a very brief search, as in you don't just put your RQN question into your search engine, put the variables you're looking into it so that you get a much more detailed result.
Nikhil, can you tell us how we do that? How did you do your search?
Okay, so one way you can do this is if you put quotations on like keywords. Say, for example, in economics, there's a certain concept you want to cover. If you put quotations on whatever keyword or concept you're trying to cover, it's easier to find sources for that. So that's one way I went about it.
Okay, so like we said, there are many great sources on the internet which are a lot better than Wikipedia for deep, proper scholarly research. Some of these are JSTOR or Google Scholar, or you can actually just go to the library and find a book. So use some of these sources and cite these sources and you'll score a lot better.
Now, how would you cite these sources? Well, the easy way is to use Zotero because it gives everything. Just use it. Just use it. Okay.
And as we spoke about earlier, in-text citations are important. Anytime you give a fact in your essay or make a claim, you have to back it up with some sort of evidence or some sort of fact. So you just do use an in-text citation for that. So start learning how to use in-text citations. So teachers, do you have anything to add on?
Roshan sir, do you have anything to add on?
Clearly, the teachers don't know anything about academic honesty. Do you guys have any questions?
Rayan has a question. Oh, sorry, Rohit has a question.
So you said if I get inspired by AI, I should cite it. How exactly do you cite that AI? Like, say I'm using ChatGPT and I get inspired. How do I cite that information?
All right, so again, this is to in-text citations. I think we mentioned this earlier, but when you do write a paragraph with AI, at the end, you just put ChatGPT and the date, because ChatGPT changes over time, or any AI which you use, really. So it's not as accurate because it doesn't show you exactly where and exactly what it said, but that's how you cite it. It's not very good form of citation, which is why we try and avoid using ChatGPT.
So when I ask ChatGPT to give me a source to like look for information, how does that work? Because whenever like I enter like the link doesn't exist. It's not that it doesn't work, it doesn't exist.
Great, so that's the lesson. Don't trust ChatGPT for everything. IB1, any questions?
Any questions? IB1? Okay, so the IB1 looks like they know it all. So grade 9, if you have any questions later on, reach out to IB1. Thank you, Yuktav and Promit. So good luck as you continue doing all your wonderful researches. And I think we have, 10 more days before we break for summer. But I think all of you do have a long weekend where some of you will be coming in for your SLC and reflecting. Have a great day and a great week, everyone. Thank you. IB1 kids, please leave first because you have a test.